Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify, Apple, or Google, please leave a 5-star rating and review. It supports the podcast and it doesn't cost you anything. This content is brought to you by Uphold, which makes crypto investing easy. I've been a user of Uphold since 2017. I can vouch for this platform. They have 10 plus million users, 250 plus cryptocurrencies, and they're available in 150 countries. If you'd like to learn more about Uphold, please visit the link in the description. First up, I want to talk about the Fed. Today, there was news from Jerome Powell that they are raising rates by 25 basis points. This is expected. It's not anything that is surprising. We've been looking at what the Fed may do this year since the beginning of 2023, and that they are ramping down their rate hikes. Rather than go with 0.75 or 0.5, they're going with 0.25. And they had some dovish language in that discussion in saying, they may look towards ending the tightening cycle. Yes, they want to keep fighting inflation and so forth, but there was hints of just the ramp down and the ending of the tightening cycle. Now, is that going to happen next month? Of course not. It's going to happen towards the end of the year, I believe. And then I think next year they're going to go back to full on QE, quantitative easing, because that's how the system works. And, Jerome Powell and the Fed, they are trying to fight inflation, and they would rather put the economy in a recession versus allow hyperinflation to happen. So that's what we're dealing with here. And of course, we have to pay attention to these macroeconomic factors because they affect the markets, including crypto. And anytime there's a discussion or any news from the Fed, the markets are super volatile. However, after the meeting, Bitcoin started pumping a bit, nothing significant. It's back over $29,000. Ethereum is back over $1,900. So right now, I think Bitcoin is still consolidating. I've been sharing this chart here with how I think Bitcoin's going to do its retracement back to between 40 to 50K. And look, it's pumped. It's building support levels. It's consolidating. It could potentially roll down to about $25,000 before pumping upwards to go past 30K again and continue the movement. But we got to be patient, right? These things don't happen in a matter of hours or days. They happen over months. So, we could see some fireworks in June where the price goes higher, or maybe sooner, maybe, later this month. I don't know, but I'm prepared to take profits, and I'm anticipating a move similar to 2019, where Bitcoin did a retracement after the bear market bottom. And then I will continue to dollar cost average in as Bitcoin rolls over to test the lows again and slowly move upwards towards the halving next year. And of course, Bitcoin is has the gravitational pull. It brings the altcoins with it. The liquidity flows from Bitcoin to the altcoins, so we can see altcoin prices increase as well. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm hoping that maybe later this month we see some bigger movements from Bitcoin. But right now, it's still within a range, and we just have to be patient. Now, the Biden administration continues its attack on the crypto industry. They have proposed a bounty on Bitcoin miners. The crypto industry slams Biden's 30% tax. The Biden Whitehouse wants to impose a 30% tax on electricity used by Bitcoin miners, but insiders warn that could put some out of business. Of course, I mean, and it just continues. The likes of Janet Yellen and I don't know who else is in that White House are trying to slow crypto down as much as possible. So this is an asinine tax that they're suggesting here. So the digital asset mining energy excise tax, if passed, would have a phase-in period and encourages firms to start taking better account of the harms they impose on society, according to a blog post by the White House's Council of Economic Advisors. The tax is estimated to bring in $3.5 billion in revenue over the next 10 years. Bitcoin mining companies are now directing their ire at the Biden administration for what they see as a blatant attempt to push crypto to the fringes. Riot, one of the largest public Bitcoin mining companies, condemned the proposed tax and told Blockworks the U.S. should be leading the world in the development of the Bitcoin network. Here's a quote: "It's hard to overstate how bad an idea this is," Riot said in a statement exclusively provided to Blockworks. This proposal would push financial innovation and jobs away from America to other jurisdictions overseas while causing harmful environmental outcomes and increased national security risks for the United States. Folks, we need Congress to act. Even we're getting nonsense coming out of the Biden White House here on this. And it's not just Bitcoin. We know we have problems with the SEC, the CFTC, different government agencies. It's a mess right now. But here is a interesting development, and it's coming from a Democratic presidential candidate by the name of Robert Kennedy Jr. And he's criticizing the White House regarding this 30% tax on Bitcoin mining. And once again, he's running against Biden for the 2024 presidential race, and he's a Democrat. So we're seeing more members of Congress and politicians coming out in favor of crypto. And that's a good sign. I think the tide is shifting and changing. And of course, we've talked about the demographics and who will be voting. And, there's a lot of millennials that hold crypto and so forth. The younger generation who will be voting more and who own crypto, this is going to be an item on the ballot for sure. So great to see these folks coming out. And he actually tweeted out, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., about this. He tweeted, cryptocurrencies led by Bitcoin, along with other crypto technologies, are a major innovation engine. It is a mistake for the U.S. government to hobble the industry and drive innovation elsewhere. Biden's proposed 30% tax on cryptocurrency mining is a bad idea. He says, yes, energy use is a concern, though somewhat overstated, but Bitcoin mining uses about the same as video games, and no one is calling for a ban of those. The environmental argument is a selective pretext to suppress anything that threatens elite power structures, Bitcoin, for example. That's a key point. That's what we've been talking about, guys. We are in the then they fight you phase. Bitcoin and crypto is disrupting, taking away the power from the incumbents. They don't like that. Robert continues, he said, some advocate tight control of cryptocurrencies to prevent their use by criminals, but it isn't just criminals who want privacy. So do dissidents and ordinary citizens. Governments harass their enemies and crush dissent by controlling bank accounts and payment platforms. Until we restore trust in government, a distant prospect, we need cash and crypto to ensure freedom. Just as a biodiverse ecosystem is a resilient ecosystem, so too will our economy be resilient if it has a diverse ecology of currencies, not just a single, centrally controlled one. We are seeing today how fragile our over-centralized system is. Really great statements here from a presidential candidate, and tweeting it out to his millions of followers. And obviously, he's going to be talking about this on his campaign. Yes, it's not the biggest issue, of course, right? There are other things that are more important. But folks, it's on the list, right? Look how far we've come. The presidential candidates are talking about cryptocurrencies and the impact it will have on society and jobs and growth of the economy. And folks are getting called out. It's become an issue now. And once again, it's going to be an issue for voters as well. So let's move ahead here. In addition, he will be speaking, the presidential candidate, Robert Kennedy Jr., at the 2023 Bitcoin conference in Miami. So once again, guys, yeah, this thing is going to become even more political. Now, here's some interesting developments with Coinbase and Ripple. We got Paul Grewal, who I interviewed about a month ago. He's the chief legal officer at Coinbase, and Stuart Alderati, who is also the chief legal officer at Ripple. And he tweeted a photo of the two of them, Paul and Stuart, and he said, thanks for having me, Stuart. We need to do this more often. Stuart also retweeted that and said, thanks, Paul. Really appreciate you taking the time to chat with Ripple's team legal at our offsite. Folks, they're in the same boat, right? Coinbase is about to get sued. They got a Wells notice on the SEC. Ripple, of course, has been fighting the SEC for a while now. I think they're going to be probably forming a little bit of a coalition here. And this is what we have to do. We have to go in the offensive, right? I've been talking about this for months and months. I've been tweeting at Brian Armstrong and different people. Form the crypto coalition, come together and sue the hell out of the SEC. We know Coinbase is suing the SEC right now. So as you can imagine, they're probably sharing notes. And I think they need to bring in other people into the fray. They need to pool their resources here and, get the SEC their heads spinning with a whole bunch of litigation, right? Go on the offensive. This is what Gary Gensler has created. And if you have an entire industry coming against the SEC, it's bad optics, and it's most likely going to force Congress to act, because as you can imagine, the SEC and the government agencies, they're going to look really bad, right, in a situation like this. So I'm really excited to see what Coinbase and Ripple have up their sleeves. Maybe we get an XRP relisting. I don't know. We'll see. Guys, fingers crossed. I'm going to try to get Stuart on the podcast, maybe try to get Paul on again, and, ask these questions. Now, some people may say, oh, you guys criticize Gary Gensler too much. And, of course you criticize him because you're biased because you hold crypto. Well, guess what? Former SEC chairs and we've seen commissioners as well have came out and criticized how the SEC is handling crypto. Here's a quote from SEC Chair Arthur Levitt. Once again, he's a former chair. Crypto will be part of the American financial scene sooner than later. Wow. Right, guys? Here, the user who met with him is Ram Aluwalia. He's the CEO of Lumida Wealth. He said SEC Chair Arthur Levitt understood how to balance investor protection and capital formation. He is a legend, longest-serving SEC Chair, entrepreneur, and builder. I'm grateful to count on Arthur as a dear friend and mentor. So he recognizes that crypto is here to stay. It's going to be part of our society. But we have a clown in Gary Gensler running the SEC right now. And if you recall, just in February, we had former SEC Chair Harvey Pitt also saying he has concerns with how the SEC has been handling this and their regulation by enforcement, and he's not a fan of it. Many of you may recall that it was in February. So two former SEC chairs coming out and saying these things. We know Mary Jo White, she's also working with Ripple. I've had Joseph Grunfest, former SEC commissioner, also coming out and criticizing this regime that Gary Gensler, corrupt clown show that he's running. So, folks, it's not just the crypto folks, who are biased and saying, oh, the SEC is coming after us. It's people who have nothing to do with crypto are coming out and saying this is asinine. This is a mess. Now, one of the things the SEC should have done was stop Celsius and Alex Mashinsky. But of course, Gary Gensler let Celsius collapse. He let Terra Luna collapse. He let Voyager collapse. He let, of course, FTX, right? Those folks didn't get Wells notices, right? But Coinbase is getting one. This is the nonsense we're dealing with. Well, so, Alex Mashinsky, he should be in jail, but he denies the baseless fraud claims by the New York State. So the New York Attorney General Letitia James said Mashinsky misled investors about the health of the now bankrupt crypto lender. Yeah, no kidding. So Alex is trying to say, no, I didn't do that. Now, as we've seen based on the reports, he knew the company was in a bad place, yet he was going around telling people, oh, bring your funds on. You can earn on a sell token. And of course, right before things were about to fall apart, him and the co-founders all went and sold all their stakes, right? All their coins and everything, because they knew what was coming. He should be in jail. That's my opinion. He should share a jail cell with Sam Bankman-Fried. Finally here, well, actually, that was the final item. No more news, guys. But I'm really, really excited about the news of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And you have these folks making this crypto situation very political. I think that's super important for Congress to act. And I'm so curious as to what Ripple and Coinbase are up to. Boy, I hope Coinbase relists XRP and they team up, and once again they form a bigger coalition and sue the hell out of Gary Gensler and the SEC. All right, my friends, let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button, share this video, and I'll talk to you all later.